yet, but we shall be. Okay. It says we are live. Welcome back, everyone. First of all, yes, we're back on my own channel. Last week I was banned on YouTube for my own channel. We're back on my own channel with Stuart Bonds, formerly of One Nation. Hello, Stuart. How are you?
Hello, dear. I'm good. Good. How are you?
That's good. Good. I hope it's not lagging for anyone, but I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Before we begin and get into the nitty-gritty, my tradition of reading a Bible verse, this is the one I've chosen for the beginning of this live stream. Let love be without hypocrisy. Abhor what is evil. Cling to what is good. Be kindly affectionate to one another. Brotherly love. It's really loud over there. Honor verses 9 to 10. Okay. So, Stuart Bonds, how are you?
I'm good. That was nice. Nice intro.
I always do a Bible verse before I go live. Is your church going, Matt? I've seen Instagrams of you going to church.
I have been to church several times. I used to go a lot more when I was younger, but not so much anymore. I wouldn't say that I'm a firm believer, but there's definitely some good elements to the faith, for sure. But it is being slowly eroded underneath our feet.
Yeah, it does happen. Do you have any alcohol right there?
Yeah. Is this audio coming through all right there? Because it looks quite shady from this end. It's taken a long time to come through.
The audio, yes, so the audio is fine, but it's like super delayed. It's like taking ages for it to come through. Guys watching, is it really bad when what you're viewing? Let me know. And the response will probably take a little while because of the delay. Because sometimes I have 5 bars and then it goes down to 4 bars and then it goes back to 5 bars. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think I've got 4. But it's clear. My side's clear. Yours is not so clear.
Yeah. Well, at the moment I'm in well, I don't want to say where I am. I'm in Castle Hill. At the moment I'm in sort of that area, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Is this bad? Everyone, can you is the internet bad? And no one's responding. Hang on, let me figure this out. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, everyone. I just assumed the internet would be good where I am because it usually is.
Australia's brilliant broadband.
It's choppy. Okay, so they're saying the internet is really choppy.
Do you want to break the link and try go again?
Yeah, so okay, we'll cancel out of it and then we'll go again. Hopefully, yeah, it's just the internet. You're just super delayed. All right, let's try again. I'm gonna get out and go back in. Okay. Can everyone hear me now? Do I sound okay now? So Stuart is fine. It's the internet where I am that isn't fine.
And I live out in the middle of the bush.
Yeah, but I have a feeling it's my internet. I don't think it's yours because I've interviewed you before and there was never a problem. Is it still choppy, guys? Can we continue? Okay, so it has improved. That's fantastic. All right, well, let's start. If there are any other problems, guys, please let us know. I thought it would be okay. but let's just continue and see if it's differently. I went to a gala and you were the host, and it was fun, and it's really lovely. After, go ahead.
Sorry, dear, I couldn't hear that. It's just chopping. Hang on.
Oh, really? Interesting. How annoying. Oh, give me a second, guys. I'm just gonna mute. Okay, guys, so Stuart still can't hear me. Apparently it's just super, super choppy, super delayed. You keep lagging. Okay, I do keep lagging. I might take the camera. Hang on. He says he's going to come back in, but actually, the thumbs down? Yeah, the thumbs down is probably just people who hate me for no reason and they haven't actually watched anything. Try voice only. So hang on. I'm gonna take my camera off as well. Give me a second, guys, and I'll turn my camera off. Okay, give me a second. How do I take the camera off? I go here.
Hello.
Hear me? Hang on. Stuart, can you hear me?
I gotcha.
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
You can hear me?
I'm here now. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay. So I've turned my camera off as well. Is this better for everyone? Is there's less issues?
Yeah, it sounds clear as now. Yep.
Okay. All right, cool. Well, let's just leave it like that. And if you put your face back, it was probably me. It's definitely my internet, not yours. Would you say?
Oh, good.
That's better. Okay, but okay. I think so. All right, let's start again. All right. So recently you held a gala event. It had guests there, and then Emma, Eros, and myself. Really fun event. What was the reason for that event, and what occurred after that event? Because I feel like all. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Yep. Yep.
Okay. So did you hear my question?
Yep. I heard you. Yep. So the reason why I was having the event was as a fundraiser. So it was originally set up as a fundraiser. There was an important vote that was happening in the Senate around the Industrial Relations Bill at the time. It was happening about 5 days before the event or something, 7 days before the event. And I assumed that One Nation was going to vote in the negative. I assumed they were going to vote with the Labor Party and vote against the coalition and vote to throw this Industrial Relations Bill out to the curb where it belonged. And if they did that, it would have almost cemented me a seat in this area, I would say, if things had have gone the way that they did last time. But that was not what they did. They voted with the coalition. The bill that went through was what they call gutted. So there was 7 sections to the bill. They gutted the bill so that they only passed through one section, and that was to redefine the meaning of what a casual employee was, right? And that in turn had the effect that there was, well, tens of thousands of people that were seeking back pay because they'd been employed as casual employees when they were in fact full-time employees. Now, those employees were mainly in the coal sector. Not saying there was none outside the coal sector, but the majority of the abuse had happened inside the coal mining industry by labour hire firms, and they were set to get a huge bill. Now, the decision from the court was challenged, from the federal court was challenged in the High Court, and instead of doing the right thing and taking it to the High Court and having it heard there under the current laws, they ran to the government and had the law changed so that the courts had to hear the case on a new law, right? So they rewrote the laws. And I thought that One Nation was going to kick this to the curb. They did not. And therefore, I was in this predicament where I'd organised this event. There was over 100 people coming. Everyone had paid their money. Mark Latham was going to be there as a guest speaker. And I had all these people ringing and pulling out, and I was copping all this abuse, and it was going on for the whole week leading up to the event. So I scrapped my speech, screwed it up, threw it in the bin, and wrote a new speech the night before the event and delivered the speech that you heard there, where I pretty much laid out what I'd done, why I'd done it, and why I was disappointed with the stance that the party took. Now, it had nothing to do with Mark Latham. Mark Latham was just there as a guest speaker. And most people, to be honest, had gone there to see Mark, not to see me. But there was some media there, and there were a lot of people that were there that were concerned with this issue, and they wanted to hear it addressed. So I addressed it, which, if you ever get in the position that I'm in, or was in, and you are running for a political party, you cannot speak against a political party. That is not how these machines work. You are to toe the party line, do as you are told, no questions asked. That's not what I did. So living with the ramifications of what I've done, which I'm perfectly happy with because I can sleep at night. And that leads us up to where we are now, I guess. Well, there was a by-election in the Upper Hunter as well, which in true One Nation style of blowing their own foot off 2 weeks after the vote on the Senate floor for this industrial relations bill, which disproportionately affected the people in my area. They had a by-election in the area, and One Nation didn't do very well in that by-election. You're back there.
I'm back. I'm sorry. The internet, it is here, and I didn't expect to be having these difficulties, and so longer going to be running as a candidate through Twitter. They didn't even send you an email or give you a phone call. What was that like? How did you feel after that?
No, so the thing that I was most frustrated about, I guess, was that I'd worked for 2 years to get all this information in front of the party to prove to them that this wasn't a mistake. It wasn't an error that was made. It was deliberate, systemic wage theft by these companies, and I showed the ins and outs, the people who had signed the contracts, how they'd done it, how they'd profited from it, the whole lot. And the most disappointing thing was that they ignored all that, and so I expected some sort of communication about this, considering I was the front man for it. I've been in the media several dozen times about this issue, and I didn't even get a phone call, so I had no idea how to respond to the media, what answers I was meant to give to them, how I was meant to explain this massive backflip that the party did. So I responded how I think a credible person would, and I said that I was extremely disappointed with the party's position. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with a bit of conflict inside your own party. I think it's quite healthy, makes for discussion, debate. But that wasn't acceptable. And so a newspaper did a report, wrote a story about it. And then the Sydney Morning Herald wrote a story about it. And that was the end of that. They just put out a thing on Twitter that just said, we're searching for a new candidate in the Hunter. So I didn't get a phone call, but I did have a conversation with them not long before that happened, with some officials in the party. I won't say who. And my position was very much that is it the party's position that you can work 40, 50 or 60 hours a week and not be considered a full-time employee? And their answer was yes. And I just said, well, we just have a fundamental disagreement on this issue, right? And workers' rights and the way that this sort of thing goes. And that's just not acceptable to me, It's just we just hit a loggerhead, and you've either got to decide at those times. Sometimes you hit a crossroad in your life and you've got to figure out what you're going to do. And I pretty well made up my decision that I was going to walk, and the party made the decision for me, really. So it's all good.
And so now you represent Australian interests as an independent rather than as a member of the party.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah. So, I mean, I still would like to be involved, although it is such a dirty thing to get involved in. Like, once you see how the machine is run and operated, you just think I cannot believe that this is how the place is run and operated. Like, I cannot believe that this is the highest, prestigious place in the land. It just does my head in, I'm not saying that, everybody down there is bad, or I'm not saying the whole place is corrupt or anything like that, but there's just some stuff that you see, you just think, wow, this is just crazy. It's crazy. These people are running the place.
I have heard that, and I have no ill will against anyone because I don't really know anyone I've known, but I have heard that this has been done before, where someone thinks that they're in the party and then turns out they're not. Like, is there a pattern of behavior there, or like just listening to gossip and you're not aware of that?
Look, I've heard the same thing. I've had some people contact me and say that they're, they've had similar experience to what I had. I mean, I don't get into other people's businesses too much, so I'm not sure of the exact circumstances of each scenario. But look, I can imagine that this is a common theme with a lot of parties, right? You have to toe that party line. I mean, you have a look at people like Mr. Fitzgibbon, who is the politician that's in my area.
Completely fair.
He is challenging the party, and the party can't wait to get rid of him. He's talking some common sense in Labor land, And that's just not acceptable to his party. Now, he can do it because he's a 26-year veteran of the party, you know. And I think that the old Labor voters sort of look at Joel and they think, well, there's still some hope there. You know, we've still got a voice in that room, but Joel's been pushed aside. You know, Joel's on the outer of his party, and I'd say he's probably on his way out. But that's the thing. You're meant to have these conversations in the party room, and once they leave the party room, that's it. Everybody's going to be on the same page, you know? And I just, yeah, what can I say? Didn't end so well.
No, and that's not your fault. Our nation in so many other ways. It's like legislations where no one else will do that. So there's so much good there, but then when these behaviors are sort of witnessed by the public, it's like, well,
yeah, I think that they've got an identity.
Myself have been a little bit disappointed because One Nation, and you go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying that I think that they've got a bit of an identity crisis. I mean, they have become without them obviously realizing it, or members in their party realizing it, that they have become the alternative to the Labor Party. They've become the tradies voter, right? They've become the great hope to save people's jobs and their livelihoods and their way of life. And they have then spat in the face of the people who supported them at the last election and the people that voted for them and got them into the position that they were in, which was a strong hand in the hunter that they never really had before. I mean, I think that it was probably the best vote I think that they've ever got federally in the lower house seat. Now, why you would jeopardize that position, I have no idea. So instead of picking up the baton and running with it, they sort of threw the baton on the ground. And I can't for the life of me figure out why they did it. I'm not sure. You know, people talk about, well, there must have been a deal done and this must have happened. And look, I don't know any of that. I wasn't behind the scenes for any of the conversations. But look, it's extremely disappointing. I'm disappointed with everything that's gone on. And, you know, I'm disappointed that we couldn't come to an amicable agreement. You're back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I think I'm going to move from. You can hear me, but either way, I think I'm going to still move. Happened to me before. Give me a second. Okay. Give me a second.
You get my message?
No.
I said if you shit reception, I'll be at the front.
Okay.
Yeah, go to my mum's office to the lab. Sorry.
That's all right. Hello, can you guys hear me? Hello. I'm closer to. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm really sorry. I don't normally. Okay. All right. Okay, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was just saying that I didn't, that One Nation, without them realizing it, have become like the tradies' choice of a party, right? They have become an alternative to the Labor Party. They've become what people view as being people that are fighting for their jobs, and fighting for their livelihoods and fighting for Australian values and bringing jobs home and full-time jobs and good jobs. And, we get some manufacturing back in the place. And, but when they voted for that bill, I just seen the fundamental core of the party just died in front of me. And I said to myself, like, I can't do this, right? Like, I cannot sink so much time and effort and everything into something that I just fundamentally don't believe in.
Absolutely. And that's the thing today. It seems like we're always going to be super disappointed with a party for a reason, which is why I'm personally not a single issue voter. But either way, even if I wasn't a single issue voter, I would want more policies and things outlined that I agree with more than what I don't agree with. But in saying that, if a particular, like, for example, I was going to interview someone from One Nation, the interview was set, and then at the very last minute, they backed out. And the reason they backed out was because they did not want me asking them any questions about abortion. And as a Christian, as a pro-lifer, as an auntie, I don't like the idea of abortion. I hate it, and I want to be able to ask One Nation people why there's no policy, why there's nothing in there about that. But this person didn't want to be questioned about it, and so then they just bailed on me, and I found that really, really upsetting. Did you see examples of that throughout One Nation? Yeah.
No, well, look, I mean, there's examples of that in every party. I mean, people don't want to talk about things that are controversial, and abortion is one of those issues, right? It is just such a touchy issue. It just pisses people off, no matter what side you sit on of the fence. It just frustrates people, But I think it's only fair that if you are running for, the highest office in the land, that you put your views on the table, like it or lump it, that this is just the way that it is. Now, the reason I took such a strong stand with my issue was because there had been blatant corruption involved. Now, I'm not saying blatant corruption with the party. I'm saying blatant corruption within these labour hire firms. There had been across the board systemic corruption and wage theft and deliberate. This was all done systemically and deliberately to take money out of people's wallets that they should have earned. And then the courts, time and time again, 3 or 4 cases, the full benches of judges, right? There's 3 judges or there's 5 judges. They all went on the side of the employees. They all said, these guys are owed this money. You've ripped them off, right? And then they go again to court. You've ripped these people off. And then they elevate it to the High Court, and the government said, we will step in and fight for the employer in the High Court. Right. So the federal government, the Attorney General, Christian Porter, stood there and said, we will support a High Court challenge. They knew that there was a good chance they would lose that challenge. So they changed the law before it went there. Now, I have seen this as an absolute abuse of power, right? That we have a legal system, we have laws there for a reason, and those laws were circumnavigated, and they passed a law to go behind everybody's back so they couldn't get their back pay. Now, to me, I just looked at that. That was not something that I could get past, right? I just couldn't overlook that and go, well, I'll move on because I want a career in politics. No, it was bigger than that to me. I just looked and thought, if that's what you got to do, and that's the level you got to sink to, and that's the sort of deals you've got to do to get your stuff done, I'm not interested. Right? I do not want to sell my soul to get in there on something like that. It's not worth it to me.
No, absolutely. By the way, I'm in a better part of the house. The internet is working perfect. So if you want to show your beautiful face, go for it.
Oh, well, I'll go back inside in a minute and
Okay. No, it's okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate your perspective. I really appreciate you saying that it was bigger than you. People have lost faith in anyone in the political game, basically because most people are career politicians, whereas you're not. You genuinely believe in what you're saying. You believe in what you're talking about, and you speak with integrity and with honor. And that's something that most people today lack. And it's not even a political thing to lack honor. Lacking honor is something where anyone who knows the truth about someone but still abides by the false narrative just to be able to perpetuate hate, that to me is dishonorable. And you don't come off to me like that. And I think it's so good that you stated that it was bigger than you and you weren't going to stay in a party for that kind of a thing. And that's just a good thing, like all around. Do you find that there are honorable people in the game that you're in?
Yeah, and I mean, look, Craig Kelly did it, right?
He did.
Where Craig Kelly stood there and took the interview in the PM's office, and the PM said, "Tone it down, Craig," or whatever he said to him, and Craig looked at the issue that he was bringing up, and he just said, "No, this is bigger than me. People are dying, right? We've shut down the whole world's economy because of this issue. There's medical research coming out that is supporting what I'm saying, right? It may not be from the people that you want to hear it from, but there is facts behind what I'm saying." And that was a hill that he was prepared to die on, right? And that is an honorable thing to do, right? To put his political career, and he was in politics, right? He wasn't like me trying to get in the door. He was in there. And so he has stacked so much on the line to do what he did. And so agree or disagree with his position, you've got to respect the man for doing what he did.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
I would also add that actually no, I wouldn't add to that. No, I think what you said was perfect. Would you I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, when I start looking at the chat, I then lose my train of thought. My apologies. Sorry. Hang on. I'm sorry. I normally have what is okay? Right. I apologize. What is your opinion on the current state of affairs in Australia, in Victoria? Will Victoria become an Australia-wide type of martial law? Will we require vaccine passports to enter interstate? Like, what do you think is the future of this country?
Yes, I do think that you'll require a vaccine passport to travel overseas. I think that's on the cards. I think that's going to happen.
Overseas, but what about interstate?
I'm not sure about interstate. I don't know how they would. I don't know how they would enforce that. There may be some sort of mobile app that they'll make us get, that certain establishments, when you scan in, that the establishment may turn around and say, "Look, man, you're not vaccinated. You can't come in." And I think that if they get this sort of thing across the line, then it will become other vaccines in the future, right? It will expand, because once the government has this sort of control, they never, ever give it back, right? Things only get worse and worse and worse. And so, you lose more and more of your civil liberties. It never, ever, ever goes the other way, right? Except for in times of, your American style War of Independence, and the countries start off very, very free, and then they end up in the mess that we're all in right now. So, and you can't leave your house. So,
Okay. So Jesse Bell, a friend of mine, asks, what are your thoughts on Billy Hughes and his conduct of conscription in 1916 and 1917?
Well, we were living in a very different time 100 years ago, and we were tied at the hip to Britain, and Britain was under serious threat. I mean, they were all locked up. in a war with Germany, obviously, and people, went and served their country. They fought well, they fought bravely, they fought hard, and we should be very grateful for that. And I mean, you cannot rewrite history. Do I think that conscription is a good thing? No, I don't. I don't think it's a good thing to rip people from their families, put a rifle in their hand, and send them overseas to fight. I think it's a terrible idea. But that's the thing about looking back on the past. You should not put your current moral judgment on things that happened 100 years ago in the past. We're not looking at it through the same eyes.
Fair, very fair statement. Do you believe that we can take? What are you doing? Are you getting more cups for your alcohol?
No, I just dropped the ice in my drink.
Okay. Actually, I have a counter argument to what you said earlier. I just thought of something. You think it's completely possible, and I know you're not saying it's going to be a thing, but do you think it is possible that, because I've been to Colombia, I'm half Colombian. I've been to Spain, I'm half Spanish. I've been to many, many other countries, and I've been to about 25 countries in my 30-odd years of life. And I've had to get certain injections to enter those countries. I've had to get certain medicines to get into those countries. So couldn't one argue, well, who cares? No big issue. Just get a vaccine like you would if you were going to get malaria. And if you don't want malaria, you get all the right pills before you enter the country. So who cares? If you would do that to enter an African country or parts of South America, what's the big deal about getting a vaccine? Do you have a response to that argument? That's not my argument, but it is an argument.
It is an argument, and it is a valid argument. And I mean, I think it was a lot to do with the time, right? The time with this vaccine, the time that it took them to develop it. It just was not, and I think it's the WHO is coming out at the moment, and they're saying that they believe that pregnant women should talk to their GP before they get vaccinated, right? But first it's perfectly safe. Now we shouldn't get vaccinated, right? With this new vaccine. Then I think it was the AstraZeneca vaccine it was safe for everybody. Then it went to over 50s, and now they're recommending it for over 60s. Right. So it's this particular vaccine that people have an issue with. Now I have had to had a Q fever shot to work in an abattoirs. Right. A Q fever is a horrible disease that comes from cows that are calving, and inside of an abattoirs, there's a lot of stuff that's going on in there, and the Q fever shot is to prevent you getting that. Now, you can't work in the joint without getting that. And I got that Q fever job so I could get a job. Now, at what extent can your companies turn around and say, you need to have a vaccine to be able to come into work? Now, I don't know that question. That question will need to be fought in the High Court. And I think it will be in time to come. But that's not something that I can really answer. Now, if I had a company, I don't think I would force any of my employees to get vaccinated, because it's a civil liberties thing. If you're vaccinated, why should you care if I'm vaccinated? It shouldn't matter. It should be totally irrelevant, So, yeah. No,
that's fair enough. My friend Jesse wants to know, are you ex-military, Stuart? You look like it.
No. I haven't been in the military. No, not likely either. Yeah. Okay,
fair enough.
Yeah, I've never even considered it. Actually, never even considered it.
Well, I guess it's because you're muscly and you're full of tats.
Yeah.
I'm just assuming that's what it comes from.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, well, let me ask you this. I personally don't want anyone imposing a foreign substance into my body unless I consent to it. And so in saying that, you're saying that it's probably a high court issue. I can tell you that it's not in the original constitution. Australia, it's already there that they can't do that. It doesn't specifically say vaccines shall not be, obliged on everyone or anything in that regard. But it does say that martial law is not allowed in this country, and we are operating on two different constitutions. You probably know that as a former member of a political party. One Nation is a successful political party, and there are two constitutions. There's the original one from 1901, and there's a diluted one where we've been making laws since 1960, 70. All of the laws since 1960 or 70, they're not real. Every single law that we've made since that time have not been made under the Australian Constitution, but the diluted version of it, the second Constitution. So my argument is that we could reverse time and literally erase 9-month abortions, same-sex marriage, anything and everything that has happened since the 70s to now. We could erase those laws and start again. Do you have a comment on what I've just said?
You could, but you need to convince the majority of the population to do that, right? And that's the thing, is that you wanting to be a member of parliament or a representative, you have to do what your voters tell you to do. They're like shareholders, right? And if the majority of them are not interested in that, they're not going to vote for you, right? So you have to be populist in a certain sense. You have to go. You're obviously going to have your own points of view and your own opinions on things, but you also have to represent your community in parliament. And if you do the dodgy on them and you sell them one thing, I'm going to go in there and do X, and you go in there and do Y, you're not going to be in there for very long, and people aren't going to like you very much. People hate politicians that say one thing and they do another.
They do, but that's the world we live in. So many people don't have honor, like what we were saying earlier. Nobody has honor today. It's like, I don't know what I mean. People's
political memories are short. They last about 6 months, and after 6 months, is sort of it hits the big reset button, and people just forget, because the next storm happens that's worse than the last storm, and it's sort of it wipes away people's memories very quickly. So I mean, it's up to people that are in the media and that are running for parliament to hold people accountable, right, for things that they've said and things that they've done, and to remind people that these guys are liars, they're frauds, but as far as your vaccine question goes, before it will be because a high court thing, I think, and I agree with you. It wouldn't be written in the Constitution, right? It wouldn't be in there. But as far as there's already certain things that I think nurses have to get, like a whooping cough shot to be able to work with little children. There are certain things, as I said, the Q fever shot and that sort of thing. Now, you can run on that platform and you can say, I absolutely will not vote for forced, vaccinations. And if the majority of people support you'll get it, especially if it's a topic of the day. But if they don't, well, you're out of luck. You're in the minority. Unfortunately, it's a democracy. That's the way it operates.
Are we willing to operate in a dual society where the unvaccinated can go to certain shops and certain cafes and the vaccinated can go to certain shops and certain cafes? Or do you think that's too far and that we shouldn't be segregated? What are your thoughts on that?
No, if you own a business and you can't get vaccinated for some reason, and COVID's, still out in the community, and you don't want people coming into the shop that might get you sick, then you have every right as a business owner, I think, to turn around and say, well, I don't want you to come in here if you're not vaccinated, and absolutely the society can function in that way. That's called freedom. You know, that's the ultimate freedom. That's consumer choice. You're given a choice. Well, I don't want to take my kid to that daycare. You know, if that's the way that they're going to operate, that they're going to have X, Y, and Z vaccine, and I don't agree with these vaccines, and I would send my kid there. You know, and look, my child's vaccinated. I mean, I took her all over the world. We went to about 20 countries when she was 9 months old.
No, it's
some of them-
C19 though. Just with past vaccination.
No, just with your ordinary ones of, you know,
Yeah,
measles, mumps,
same.
rubella, tetanus, you know,
Same.
the ones that have been around for 1,000 years, right? The ones that have been around forever.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of a proven track record on them. And you know that they're relatively safe as far as they can be.
Mm-hmm.
But not with COVID-19.
No, good.
Yeah, we haven't had those shots yet. I think I'll wait a little while to see how it all pans out before I go take that plunge.
May I offer you a tiny bit of advice with that? Wait until after October 2022.
Oh, I'll be waiting a good while. Yeah.
Yeah, because after October 2022 is when the legitimate trial guinea pig ends. That's when the session ends, because at the moment they're mandating something that's literally, you can find the documentation and you can see, oh, it is they're trialing it. It's not even like a for sure thing yet. And so
I mean, it's
after that,
it's sticky territory. I mean, because if you look at the laws in America, you'll see, as far as vaccines go, is that if there is a government mandated vaccine, the drug companies can't be sued. They're not liable for any damages.
They're indemnified.
Yeah. So you just start seeing that sort of thing. It starts to, it puts a little bit of concern there. You're like, why, if these things are all so safe, why the hell do you need that law? Why do you need a law if you never use it? That's because some terrible things can happen. Like the first lot of polio vaccines that went out, they gave like 400,000 people polio.
I know, right?
There was a heap of kids, I know, over in my wife's country in Finland. They were given a shot, and it gave a lot of the kids narcolepsy. Right, where it's just this constant fatigue, and then you fall asleep at the drop of a hat. There was a lot of that. So there's been things have happened before. It takes a little while before you get enough people to come in that you go, hang on a second, these kids were all fine, and now they've all got this certain thing going on. So, look, we're all part of a massive experiment. It's being done on billions of people, so we are going to see the result of it relatively quickly. I don't think we'll have to wait too long. So, yeah, I'd say, look, if you're concerned about it, don't get it.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm going to wait like 5 years, if anything. Like, if it means I can't travel and can go back to Colombia and see my family, then that's fine with me.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
You might not have a choice. Yeah.
Well, I don't have to go to Colombia. That's not something I have to do. I want to, but I don't have to.
But look, and it might be something that Colombia might not care. Look, they might say, "Oh, we don't give a shit if you've got the vaccine or not." But you may have to fly through JFK Airport or something, right? And they might care. And so it may be that you want to go over to Laos or you want to go to Thailand, but you've got to go via Singapore, right? And then in Singapore you can't get off without it. So there's going to be all these complicated issues that are going to come out of this. It's going to be extremely difficult, sort of territory to navigate, but we'll get through it. Freedom usually wins.
I hope that's a very nice thing to say. That's so optimistic. Do you think that's true? Do you think we'll be able to combat this on some level? Well,
there will be, I think, because there'll be
pushback.
There'll be pushback, and there'll be people like Dubai or Qatar or whatever that they'll go, well, no one else is allowing these people in, and our population's vaccinated, so what do we care? Let them come through, and so then you'll get all this through traffic going through these countries. It'll generate more GDP, and other countries will go, well, we're not filling up these airplanes. It's money talks. It really does.
And what walks?
Yeah, well, me.
That's funny. Hey guys, if you have any questions, go ahead. You're free to ask some questions. Reg has asked you one here. He wants to know if you have any plans for the 2022 federal election. Hope we can catch up for a beer soon. I think you probably know Reg then.
Yeah. Well, mate, the 2022 election will be the New South Wales state election. No, it won't. No, that's next year. It's federal. Yeah. Oh yeah, he's written in there federal too. I'm thinking
I read out the question.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
2023 will be New South Wales state election because they're fixed 4-year elections. And so next year it can be anywhere from September this year till May. Anywhere in that zone it can be, end of September. Now, they usually don't put the elections at points where it's going to give you the shits. Like it won't be too close to Christmas, it won't be in the heat because they won't want you standing around in 40-degree heat. And so I think it'll string it out until May. So I've got a bit of time, and I think I'm planning on at this stage probably run as an independent with where I'm sitting at the moment. I'm pretty sure with the storm that I created last time, it is tempting. There's certain things going on in my life that it would be easier just to sit on my hands and not run at all. But I did so well last time.
But you're a man.
It'd be a real shame to let that ride and let it go and not have entered any of the debates and had that battle, had that war. I mean, the result in this seat made a significant difference to the whole conversation of the whole country about coal mining and the jobs surrounding coal mining. And that was only because Joel Fitzgibbon is in this seat and he was the leader of the right faction of the Labor Party. And so because his seat was threatened, he's changed his tune around coal. And that has forced the entire Labor Party to change and soften their position on where they were under Bill Shorten. Bill Shorten, if you don't remember, was running the smooth transition campaign. We need a smooth transition out of coal mining. We need a smooth transition into renewables. Well, the only thing that's smooth transition was that line smooth transitioned into the bin, right? It's gone, that election line. They're now running the line, they're not on your side, right? This is a Labor Party mantra. They're not on your side. We're on your side. You know, they're never on your side. You'll start hearing this more and more and more. And this is what they're going to, well, we're on your side. We love coal mining. We've always loved coal mining, even though 3 years ago they were about to throw coal mining in the bin and smooth transition out of it, right? So because of the significant effect I had, Reg, I'd say I'll give it another crack. It's just a matter
Well done.
who
That
I do
takes
it
heart.
with. Well, it also takes
does.
money and time, and you cop a lot of bullets for it. There's very little love. Very little love. Yeah.
I know. Well, what were you doing before politics?
I was living out on my farm, enjoying my life, working in the mine as a plant mechanic, which I'm still in the mine. I still work in the mine as a plant mechanic, but I had no aspirations of entering politics. I did not want anything to do with it.
I would never enter politics.
Yeah, and then
commentating is different. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. Well, but I noticed that they started this smooth transition talk around coal mining probably 18 months out from the election. Just like I'm noticing now, they're not on your side shit that's starting to come out, right? I noticed this starting to get played out more and more. And I was like, these guys are talking about smooth transitioning us out of our jobs, right? And I'm looking around, and my community up here is unlike no other in Australia, right? The Hunter runs and the whole thing operates off coal mining. There's probably 100,000 people in the Hunter down to Newcastle that's jobs rely on coal mining,
Yeah.
The city was founded on coal mining. The actual place was originally called Coal River, you know, and then after it was Coal River, it was then changed its name to Newcastle, which is named after the largest coal port or coal terminal in England. So originally Newcastle was found because some convicts stole a boat from Sydney, and a Navy boat, and the convicts took off up the coast.
Yeah.
And Lieutenant John Sutherland chased them up the coast to try and find them. And he pulled in, because there was a storm, he pulled into Newcastle, into the Hunter River, right? He pulled into Newcastle Harbour, and he was looking for these convicts. So he's pulled in, and he found what he called was a very deep water port, and he renamed it Coal River because the coal seams come out and actually met the water itself. He could see the coal in the cliffs, right? And so 9 years after we landed in Sydney, 9 years later, we were exporting coal out of Newcastle, right? So that's how fundamental. We've been doing it for 210 years in the Hunter. It's
Australian.
It is ingrained in. It was New South Wales' first export was coal out of the Hunter.
Yes, but the left ruined it. The left has made it illegal and wrong and immoral. Somehow they managed to find a way to make coal immoral. So the economy is booming in this country, but we've removed Ford, we've removed car manufacturing, we've removed coal mining, we've removed, I don't even know what else.
Well, we are still coal mining. And this is one of the great deceptions of the Labor Party, is that they're talking about they're talking tough on coal mining, but they very well know that we cannot survive without it, right? So they're going to get coal mining out of our electricity grid. So we will not be able to benefit from the cheap, reliable, abundant electricity of coal, but we cannot survive as we are at the moment without exporting it. The amount of money that is brought in by coal is insane. It's something like it's $65 billion a year. Right?
That's amazing.
So between coal mining and iron ore is the same as our tourism sector. Right? So you look at the damage that's happened because of COVID, because they said, well, we're not getting the tourists, right? Something like $120, $130 billion a year is not coming into the country. If you got rid of coal mining and iron ore, that would be permanent. They'd be gone permanently, those jobs. So what has happened in COVID would just be an ongoing thing. We would be forever. The only thing that's pulled us out of the trouble is the fact that we've kept coal mining, we've kept pumping gas, and we've kept iron ore going. Right? That has floated the country. So these industries that they want to kill off, they're funding everything at the moment.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? It would be so easy to bring the economy back up. It would be so easy to pay off some of the debts if only some politicians were willing to cut their pay packet in half, let's say, even quarter it, and reintroduce certain things that have been removed from Australia, like its manufacturing, up the ante on the coal mining industry and all that kind of stuff. We would probably be in relatively good shape in 5 years if these things were implemented right now. But that's not going to happen.
Well,
because of opinions.
Well, our wages are too high, right? And that's a controversial thing to say, especially with the position that I've taken with all this stuff. But our wages are too high because our taxes are too high, right? So your taxes 30, 40, 50% of your income. Now, if they weren't taking so much money, you wouldn't need to be paid so much, right? If you weren't paying so much in your income tax, your rates, your jet ski license, car license, truck license, gun license, fishing license, right? Your permit to drive on the beach, your permit to drive in the state forest, your permit to have cattle. The list just goes on and on and on. If you didn't have to pay all that stuff, you don't need that money, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not in your hands anyway. It's going to you, but you are just a facilitator to give it to the government. Now,
Yeah.
if those things did not exist, your wages could come down. We could compete. We could compete on the national stage again as with manufacturing if we could get our tax rate down. And that would allow employers, instead of having to put the pressure on them to constantly lift our wage, they could either keep them there they are, or we could take a pay cut.
That's weird. Hi, Elizabeth. I haven't seen you in one of my lives in a while. Nice to see you. I also wanted to add, he's back. I want to add that it's also unusual to me that we have to pay. Hey, welcome back. It's also unusual to me that I have to pay an administration fee every single year for a car that is already mine. As another example, but sorry, keep going.
Mm-hmm. There's all those sorts of crazy things. Right? It's just, I mean, we're going through the phase right now of buying some quad bikes because they're about to ban quad bikes. Right, this is after October this year. Quad bikes can no longer be sold without a full roll cage on them, and Honda, Suzuki, Polaris, all the big dealers, Kawasaki, Yamaha, they've all refused to bow to the government. They've turned around and said, no, we're not going to do this because we have a world market and you guys are the only ones who are demanding that we do it. We're not changing the whole structure of our bike and adding 50% costs on top of it just to suit the Australian market. We're not doing it. So quad bikes, I think, will be a thing of the past after this October. So, these are all sorts of crazy things that go on. And so now, instead of a quad bike to go and chase your cattle around, you have to buy a $27,000 side-by-side buggy. Right? You're allowed to have the buggies because they've got a rollover protection, but they're double the price of a quad bike. You could get a 250, 300cc quad bike for like, $8,000 or $9,000. Now you got to buy a side-by-side bike, buggy for 20,000 plus. This is just crazy. It's just added
ridiculous.
Cost.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know the quad bikes were bad. I've rode them once in Thailand with like my big bunch of friends. It was so fun. And Emma Eros, I live right near her, has quad bikes and they're fun. I love quad bikes. How ridiculous.
Yeah, they're great. But they're a way of life, right? They're a mode of transport. They're what we use to get around. I mean, I use them to chase my cattle around. I use them to do. So the costs of some of these big stations that have all these cattle that we eat in our supermarkets because they've got 30, 40,000 head of cattle, the cost of running their operation is going to go up because they've got to pay more money for these things. So that'll mean the cost of your food goes up.
I hear a beautiful little girl.
My daughter's asking me some questions. Yeah. She's
I want to see her. Last time I saw her.
She's hassling me about Spider-Man.
Hey, sweetheart, remember me? Remember me?
Penny?
Hi. Hi, remember me? I was playing with you.
She's a bit shy. Yeah. There we go.
She's beautiful. I love her.
Yeah,
remember,
she's cute.
I was playing with her at the gala at the fundraiser.
The function. Yeah.
Yeah, so cute. I was playing with her and I was holding her and I'm very clucky.
She's a good kid. Mm.
I will never have a child like that with blonde hair and blue eyes because it's just it's not in the cards.
You're out of luck. You got to meet a Swede or a Dane or something or a Finn. Yeah.
Yeah. My boyfriend is half Mauritian, so it's not going to happen.
Not going to happen. No. Yeah.
That's all right. My friend Jesse, my big brother Jesse, has another question for you, Stuart. And I think I know the answer. What do you think happened to the Australian people with this overregulation? How do we lose our balls? Good question, Jesse. We are apathetic and lazy. Good question. Answer, please, Stuart.
I don't know. Like, you know, that's the thing, how they say that how did a generation raised by South Park and The Simpsons turn out to be such softcocks? And I cannot answer that question. I really don't know. I mean, this is why you know, the old founding fathers in America, they have those resounding quotes that you see every now and then. That's, you know, I think it was it Washington that said, those who give up a little bit of liberty for safety deserve neither, you know. And then so those sorts of things are, there's a reason why they said them, you know, and that's I think it was fundamental liberties, I think he said, for safety deserve neither, because you give the government and these bureaucrats these opportunity to take these things from you, and they will every time, because their solution to things is regulation, right? And they don't think that when they regulate something that people are going to change and manipulate their behavior, right? They just think that they do a law and everyone's just going to fall in line. It's just not how it operates.
No, Pissy Leaks Pete, do you believe voting should be reserved for those who are only born here, who own property rights or a small business?
Now that's how it
that's a good
used
question.
to operate. Not here, but that's how it did operate. I think it was in America. You
They
used
should
to have to be
reintroduce it, I tell you.
a landholder, because that way you could not vote to steal other people's property off them, right? Because if you were a landholder, you weren't going to vote in things that were going to steal your own property, you know. As far as restricting it, the people that are born here, I mean, there's some people that I've met who were not born here that are fundamental Australians, right? They love the place. They come over here, they believe in the things, the freedom, the liberty, you know, that's why they come to Australia. I mean, I don't think you're going to solve Australia's problems by not giving those people a vote. I think that the problem is it's ingrained. It's not just in Australia. It is in every Western civilization. I mean, have a look at what's going on in America, in the UK. I mean, this is a disease. It's a Marxist disease that's been installed in the culture many, many, many years ago. And it's just starting to rear its ugly head now. You know, we're just starting to see the communist long march through the institutions. I mean, they tried it at the top of government with your Stalin and your Mao, and they tried to bring the crap in via those strong arm means. It failed. Right. So now they've aimed at infecting all the mid-level institutions and young people. You know, they infect younger people's minds. You know, that played out in full display just recently in Newcastle when they picked, I think it was Mark Vaile, who was our ex-deputy prime minister. They chose him to be a chancellor of Newcastle University. He was one of the board members of Whitehaven Coal, right? And because he had been a board member of a fossil fuel company, the faculty, the students, everybody rioted, right? They kicked up such a stink until he left, because apparently he does not represent the fundamental principles of a modern university. Yeah.
Absolutely true. Well, listen, we've gone the full hour. I'm happy to go for maybe 5 or 10 minutes more because of the shitty internet connection from earlier. But
No worries.
yeah, I was wondering about you've been in the media, you've been in trouble by the media in the past. I'm in the same category. I've been in trouble with the media in the past for silly reasons, things that obviously have been falsified or exaggerated. But do you think there is this sort of, this is nothing related to anything, I just thought I'd ask, do you think that we have this problem right now where we cancel too much. We cancel people for something that they did in their past that doesn't mean anything today, or that was an accident, or a manipulation of some sort, or, you know, say someone made a joke. Like, I've made a couple of fat jokes. Like, I made a fat joke yesterday on Facebook, and I really offended this guy. And he's like, "Why are you making a fat joke? Stop doing that. That's insensitive." And I was like, "Oh shit! I thought I was being funny. It wasn't even that mean what I said." Like, do you think people should be cancelled? Like, well, what is your opinion on that kind of stuff? Or do you think not?
I think we need to be conscious of how we make other people feel, right? When we do things. But on the flip side,
I wasn't trying to be nasty.
No. But what I'm trying to say is that being offended is your choice, right? It's you that gets offended. It is not. Other people are free to speak and do as they choose. It is your choice whether that thing offends you or not. Now, if you're carrying a few extra kilos and you're a bit insensitive, a bit sensitive about your weight, well, perhaps the solution to that problem is to lose a couple of kilos, right? It's sort of not everybody else's, fault. They can never make a fat joke or, point out the fact that it's not really very healthy. I mean, I'm carrying a few kilos more than I should be, and I'm perfectly conscious about it. And I know I need to get off my ass and do something about it. Now, if somebody says something about it, that's not really their fault for pointing out the fact that, well, Stu, you've put on a few kilos. Like, well, I have, because I've had a kid and I'm not going to the gym every single day, and I've stopped playing footy. And yes, I do need to lose a little bit of weight. You
look fine to me, but fair enough.
Yeah, but if you see me from a few years ago, you'd be going, well, you have chucked on a few kilos, Stu. But it's not really. It's my choice whether to be offended by that sort of thing or not.
Absolutely.
That's exactly right. Offense is taken. Right? Offense is not given. It is taken by people.
Absolutely.
I have copped some horrible abuse, and the media has been double-sided with me. I mean, I really copped it at the start until I think that the media, the people in there were like, hang on a second, this guy's actually doing some good things, right? And and irrespective of what they did and what they said, I kept going, right? I kept pushing through it. And it is, again, if I looked and went, well, they think I'm a horrible person, I've got to go cower into a ball in the corner, I never would have got anything done. If I took that offense, I never would have got anything done.
No, for sure.
You have to just keep pushing forward, right? And just ignore it, fob it off. We're getting soft. We are getting soft.
Very soft. Sorry, everyone is really interested in that. Can you just hold that up to the camera?
What is it?
Your cuff. They want to know what it is. Yeah, everyone loves it.
Wait, where is it? My cuff.
There.
It's my where is it? The best and fairest. Yeah, I got the best and fairest for when I was playing rugby.
Nice.
So I won the players player when I was playing rugby. 2006. Yeah. 2006. So that was many moons ago. That was 15 years ago. Yeah.
2006. Wow. That was I was in Spain, I think, by that time. I was out of high school. I was in Spain.
Yeah, so I got the big award for the year, the first year that I played rugby. So I've nice. And in these cups, the guys in rugby, if they see you with one, they'll bite it because it's soft material. And so to get one out of the place without having people's bite marks in it, I had to hide it. I think I gave it to my mum, actually. She hid it in her handbag. Yeah.
It's hilarious. And so your relationship with the media today, is it still sort of up and down? No, quite good, actually. I have a good relationship because I think that they've realised that I was in there for the right reasons. I really, as much as there was a lot of things that I agreed strongly with One Nation, there was also some things that the party was a lot harder on that I wasn't so hard on. There was a lot of elements to One Nation that are never explored, a lot of policies that they have that are never explored because the media see them as, anti-refugee, anti-immigrant. And so
they will continuously try to pigeonhole you into that area and that corner, right? So your job is to not get pigeonholed. It is to talk about what you want them to talk about, which is bringing jobs back to Australia, which is workers' rights, which is, you know, the things that people care about. You know, this constantly, you know, because they'll give you a half an hour interview and they'll ask you one thing about refugees or something, and you'll make the comment, and then they'll just use that segment. You know, you know, to talk about what, you know, the other 40 minutes or an hour of your conversation.
For sure. Well, after you've done an interview with me, they'll be like, he's talking to that girl who, you know, the Liberal Party hates her. Everyone, we need to hate her. No, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Well, you know, you're bombing over the target, Dan, when they, you know, they don't shoot at planes that are dropping bombs out in the middle of the bush. They only shoot at them when they're dropping them over the city. So, you know, you must be hitting some nerves somewhere along the line. Yeah.
Yeah, I have for a while.
Yeah, well, just keep doing it. You keep pushing those buttons. I mean, look, everybody, this is, you know, the freedom that the internet has given us. We're more divided than ever, and we're more connected than ever, which is the weirdest thing.
Yeah. It's ironic, isn't it? And isn't it ironic?
Yeah. Which is strange because we live side by side with each other and we don't have any of these issues. But as soon as we go online, the issues are there, you know. And a lot of the time, to get rid of the issues, you just need to turn your phone off. You know,
that's so true. Just stop using the internet, because the internet world is not real. Like, there's no need there's no need to cry and bitch and moan about what happens online. I mean, unless it's like something so savage and like they've like shown something that they shouldn't have shown. But ordinarily, it's not real. It's not real. It's not real life what happens. And so, just
so many times I've had like vicious debates with people online, and then met them out in public, and things were fine. We didn't have the debates. We weren't talking, you know, we were at basketball or we were doing something totally different, unrelated, you know. And so that's the other thing I think we've got to remember, is that we all have to inhabit this planet, right? And we all have different ways or opinions on how it should be run. Those debates should be left to the politics side of things. We have allowed politics to infect every aspect of our life. I mean, have a look at what's happening in sport at the moment. We went through that phase where no sport team could enter the field without dropping a knee, had to bow a knee. I mean, that was crazy. I mean, sport is probably the number one place where there isn't racism, right? It is the ultimate level playing field, where especially, you know, black people especially have a distinct advantage, you know, because of their physical build, their muscular, skeletal figure, and they're faster runners. You know, they have a look at the American basketball, American football. I mean, the Aboriginal players that are in rugby league, it's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You know, yet here they are taking a knee. I just couldn't believe it. Yeah,
it's so disrespectful as well, because it's like you're here in a country that's fully embraced you, but you want to shit on us because of something that happened hundreds and hundreds of years ago to black people that are not even your people. They're different. They're a different group of black people. It's stupid. Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah. It's a bizarre, and then to think that, you know, the amount of blood and treasure that was shed by the British, and especially the British, to free slaves, right? And there's still slavery happening.
Sex slavery,
a lot of countries around the world. It definitely hasn't been stamped. Yeah, it definitely hasn't been stamped out across the world. But the white people are the only people that seem to get blamed for slavery. I mean, it was a horrible, disgusting thing, and it was one of the greatest things, if not the greatest thing, that's ever been stamped out, was the ownership of other human beings. Right? And now the government just does it via taxation.
So accurate, so accurate. And those said white people, it's like if they want people to take accountability, those said white people also blame another group of people for other, you know, they're disproportionately. The Jewish people are blamed by white people for all of the world's problems, but then the black people are blaming all the white people for their problems. It's just a circle of delegated blame, and it's
blame.
ridiculous.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's funny when you go over to, so you'll go to Thailand, right? And you sit down with some of the Thais and have a beer and have a chat with them, and they're hacking on the people from Burma, you know. Or if there's a bad building, right, the Thais will go, yeah, that's Burmese quality, right? That's where you get from Burmese quality. That's 300 baht, 300 baht a day, which is about $10. That's 300 baht a day quality. You know, you want Thai quality, look at this. And then you'll go over the border to Laos, and they'll talk about the Thai people. They'll say, oh, the Thais, they're all just hookers. All their women are hookers. They're all prostitutes, you know, and the Thai people are all pimps. And then you go over to Cambodia, and the Cambodians have got problems with the Vietnamese. Oh, the Vietnamese are coming in to steal our jobs. Then you go to Vietnam, and they're like, Cambodians are coming in here stealing our jobs. So, like, it's not just we're a tribal species, right? We hang out in tribes, right? We're traveling over, and I've been over to Southeast Asia many times, and it sounds like it. And it's sort of, the guys are all the countries. They're like, oh, I can't believe you got out of that country. They didn't murder you over there. And then you go back over the border. They're like, can't believe you got back. How didn't you get murdered over there? You know, the Middle East is the same. I mean, we went over there, and, you know, Jerusalem, and went to into Palestine and into Egypt, and it's the same. You know, everyone's hacking on each other.
Everyone hates each other.
Yeah. And everyone's blaming each other for each other's problems. It's not a specific black-white thing, you know. It just depends on what part of the world.
It isn't. And that's my whole point. My point is that every single group of people can hate on another group of people and claim to have a bad relationship or dynamic with that group. It's like, why don't we just do some self-accountability and just stop blaming other people? It's like, well, if you don't want that to happen, stop it or suppress it or push back at it, or, like, you know, do your bit.
Yeah. Look, there's some big issues we need to tackle as a species, as a human civilization at the moment. The biggest one's probably wealth inequality, right? And that was one of the other reasons why I made such a stance on the issue that I did when I got booted out of One Nation, was because of the growing gap in wealth disparity, and the fact that you could have two people at the same place doing the same job earning such a significantly different wage, even though, as far as the law was written, it was illegal, you know, and the courts backed it up. It's illegal, and they changed the law to do it. And I looked at that as the old feudal system, you know, where you'd sit before the king there, you'd do something wrong, and you'd go before the king, and he would judge you on what punishment that you were going to suffer, you know, and then the next guy'd come in, and the king would change you do the same crime, and because he liked the next person, you'd get a different punishment, right? That's why we have laws, so that everybody was equal under those laws, you know, and they're written so that everybody is to be treated the same. And I just run into the government. Yeah, well, running to the government and changing those
originally
laws.
Exactly,
It's a horrible way of doing it. It's an abuse of power, you know. If everybody did that, every time that a big company got in trouble or whatever, if you just ran off and changed the law, that's not what democracy is there for. It's an abuse of the political system.
Absolutely true. That's a good place to leave it, I think. It's an abuse of the political system. I really appreciate you jumping on. I would love to get you and your wife together. Maybe I'll come up to your farm and do like a physical face-to-face interview I did with John Ruddick. That'll be fun.
I think you should, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I will. I am inviting myself to your farm.
You're welcome. A full bar here. It's all good.
Hey, we'll do the interview right there. Right when the
Yeah, for
bar
sure.
is.
We will. We definitely will. Yeah.
How exciting! We'll book
Yeah.
it in the next couple of weeks. It'll be really, really fun.
Okay, cool.
I love all my friends. Oh, okay. I've got one more question. Okay. Oh, Elizabeth, you came late. I'm sure he's happy to answer, but you did come quite late. How did he get kicked out of One Nation? Sorry, I might have missed it earlier. Do you mind just giving a brief synopsis on that, and then we're out?
Yeah, I'll just blaze over it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
the party, they voted for something that I'd worked very hard on for a couple of years,
Industrial
to
relations.
the industrial relations legislation, so where they wanted to redefine the meaning of what a casual employee was. So casual employee's always been sparse hours, it's random hours, you don't know what hours you're getting week to week, right? Whereas these guys had been working the same roster for years, and their roster was given to them a year in advance, so they knew what they were doing in December when it was January, because the roster was handed to them. It was ongoing work. It was about 50 hours a week, so they were permanent employees. Now, they got sued, a lot of these companies. The wage theft bill was a couple of $1 billion that was set to be handed back to the employees, and they ran to the government to change the law, and One Nation voted with the government to change the law. So that left me in a very precarious position. Did I either, did I toe the party line, or do I speak out against it? And I spoke out against it, and that resulted in me being booted out. So if that's the way it goes, I mean, I'd rather sleep at night.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because you have heart. Okay, guys. This is not the end of Stuart Bonds on my channel. He will be back. I'm going to say in the next couple of weeks, 3 or 4 weeks or so, with his beautiful wife, who is a supermodel from Finland, and so that'll be an exciting interview to sort of get into the nitty gritty of that.
That'd be cool. That'd be
It'll be
good,
fun.
Della. Let's hook it up.
Will be.
Yeah.
Let's hook it up. Yeah. So just text me, and we'll figure out a Wednesday that works for you guys.
Awesome.
All right. Bye,
All right.
everyone. Thank you.
See you guys.
And we'll see you next time. I shall
Thank
end the
you.
broadcast.